introduce James and Kirill. I didn't give a full introduction of them as I'd like them to do that. So James from Lviv, why don't you spend a minute or two telling us about yourself and your personally and your Rotary journey?
Thank you, Colin. Thank you for organizing this program. And thank you, Prior Lake. It's a pleasure to be joining you. I've got a timer on because I want to save time for the other guests. Briefly, I am from the United States. I lived in Lviv, Ukraine for nearly 12 years. My family was here, daughters 5 and 7. When the war broke out, we briefly relocated to Warsaw, Poland. Immediately got very active there, which, as I'll discuss later, was pretty fortuitous in terms of what our club is doing. My family is now in the US. We naively thought we'd wait it out in Warsaw. We hoped. They're back in the US. I'm here in Lviv with my team. My term ends July 1st, and I plan to be here with my team. Briefly, I'm a Gator, undergrad at University of Florida. Did my graduate work at Indiana University of Bloomington in public administration and Russian and Eastern European area studies, the focus on civil society in emerging democracies and hybrid democracies like we see in Russia. And then after completing my grad work, I moved to Lviv. I've worked with the U.S. Embassy, I've worked with USAID, and I moved into private business consulting and market entry for Ukrainian firms that were looking to launch on the U.S. market primarily. And so that's it. And I got it under 2 minutes, so I'll count that as a win.
That's great, thanks. And we do have one of our members on Zoom. I don't think you probably saw it, but Don Schroep, who's a longtime member of our club, who is also a Florida Gator, and there was some fist pumping there. Well, you said that, so that's great. Kirill, can you tell us a little bit about yourself in Kyiv?
Sure. Thank you for having us here. My name is Kirill Pesankov, as you see on the screen. I'm a Rotarian since 2018. And I have a family and 2 kids. They are currently in Krakow, which is south of Poland, and I have my mother in Bulgaria. So I spend majority of time since February in Kyiv, guarding my house, just a bit traveling around to organize my family leaving the country. What I'm doing for the living, I graduated Kyiv National Economic University, specialization in finance management, and now I'm working for the French company which is called Saint-Gobain, and it is better known in US as Certainty. So you probably better know this name. You don't see me, and my appearance doesn't confirm what I will say, but I like mountain biking, and I like actually doing the sports related to 2 wheels. So this is it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, and we won't go too far here. We'll start with you. You mentioned that you've been kind of guarding your house for the last 3+ months while your family has gone elsewhere. But can you share some of the details of your experience and that of your fellow members? What has it been like? Obviously, we hear certain things on the news, but that's about where our grasp of things stops. And tell us what it's been like in Kyiv over the last few months here.
Well, it started 24th February with the calls because we haven't heard anything right away. However, soon we saw the people leaving the city. It was quite fast in the morning when people started to leave. and start to get fuel their cars and leaving the city. We stayed here in Kiev for a couple of days. Then we decided that kids needs to leave to Lviv to the grandparents. And afterwards, my wife decided also to leave. So we organized these kind of things, and I got back to Kiev. And well, if I am cowboy, I would say it was fun. However, it was not fun at all, because there were Russian army units entering the city, and there were fightings in the city. So we had street fightings here. Obviously, I was not part of that. However, I've seen the results of the fightings here in the city. And then the most terrifying thing was that city became like abandoned one. So there were a lot of people living at the beginning, and then you have so unnatural silence here in the city between the bombings, of course. So that you feel that you've never been in this kind of situation before. Since I think since 1.5 months after a Russians unit left northwest of Kiev, it became very calm, I would say, and many people are getting back. So city is getting back to normal. You have already traffic jams, you have shortage of fuels, and all the stuff associated with the wartime. Talking Rotary, I think we started to do something right away. We started to send communications, and we started to receive mails from all over the world. North America, Japan, Europe, of course, and we started our, humanitarian activity from the smaller projects, like purchasing ovens for those who needed heating. I just saying that February in Ukraine is not that hot. And then we started to purchase the warm clothes for those in needs. And then our projects became more structured and more targeted. And we ended up with the projects like Kyle was presenting. We're providing with drones to follow the situation northwest to Kiev, where the floods currently affecting people. And those floods is a result of the military actions.
Thank you. James, how about you? What has it been like for you and your club members here in the last 3+ months?
First, well, the first couple days were pretty terrifying, no matter where you were in Ukraine. As time has gone on, the bombing here in Lviv has become less frequent. We've been fortunate in the sense that any strikes inside the city have been pretty limited, low casualties. That we've had a fuel depot hit. That was on international news. That happened while a lot of broadcasters were downtown reporting live. Tank factory, a power substation linked to the railway infrastructure, and a miss that was meant for the train, and it hit a car tire repair plant near a refugee center. There were some casualties, unfortunately, in that strike. And then since then, I mean, living here is the air raids. They're a part of life. Some people respond to them, some people don't. Every building either has a bomb shelter. A lot of the Soviet era buildings that are still standing, they were built with bomb shelters against a potential NATO campaign against Ukraine. And the churches have bomb shelters, the schools. So you'll find some people do spend a lot of time in the bomb shelters. Generally, they are becoming less frequent. So I certainly feel that, I mean, Lviv has been fortunate. The most dramatic, visible sign here of the war is the number of refugees. Almost every public space has opened up their doors and converted the space to house either temporary refugees moving on to Europe. We've had about 3 million come through Lviv towards Poland, where we were in that crowd ourselves. Gyms, schools, public spaces have just opened up. Now they're starting to build kind of more temporary facilities for the IDPs. Just near where I live, there's a 700-person camp. There's modular buildings. It's really nice. They built a playground out there. And so that's the most visible sign. You get used to the air raid alerts, and most of the strikes have recently been outside of the city, hitting railway infrastructure and shipments, aid shipments. We don't know exactly what they hit. We can guess. It's a game here. What do they hit? But the most significant signs in this city that we are at war, and lest anyone think that this war is tapering off, it's not. It's entered its most bloody phase. I know US media doesn't give it the coverage it used to, but more people are dying now because this is trench warfare. This is lines drawn one against the other across most of the eastern part and the southeastern part of this country, and there's constant exchange of artillery fire. In fact, a lot of the field hospitals and regular hospitals that are standing can't handle the number of wounded that are being brought in, so they're being taken to places like Denmark. Doctors Without Borders is setting up field hospitals in Hungary. So we are fortunate in Lviv to not be under direct bombardment, and that we did have the space to accommodate these refugees, and that situation is improving daily. But make no mistake, this war is still claiming many, many lives, and a lot of the IDPs that we see, children, women, they have their basic needs met, and that's good. But the need for counseling and mental health here is enormous. It's staggering.
Thank you. And we have some questions here in the chat that we'll get to in a minute. But James, we'll keep it with you. Your club has obviously been very active in terms of what you all have been doing to help meet needs in the community. How did you go about that? When did it start? Tell us a little bit about what you've done, how quickly that came to play, and everything from that standpoint. If you can tell us a little bit about that, because I think it's really interesting from anecdotally from my view in both the Lviv and the Kyiv clubs.
Right.
You're in the middle of a war.
Well, that starts.
Here you go. You're being what Rotarians are doing and really making a difference. Well, there.
Well, it starts 6 years ago when our club was formed. Because we're an international club, we had existing contacts with international private donors, businesses, other NGOs. Sorry. So that's really where it starts. So before the war, we were regularly bringing in shipments from Germany, from Poland. That's how we operated. Our focus was medical equipment and supplies. I'd say monthly we were getting things from our partners on trucks. And so through that time, we developed a logistics chain that was already in place, fortunately positioned us to respond to this really quickly. And so the background of how we started was we were kind of already doing it. We already had a very good partner that we work with in terms of shipping, customs clearing, and again, being an international club, half of our members before the war were international, or expats from everywhere from Pakistan, Egypt, Netherlands, Germany. And so they reached out to Rotary clubs in their home countries and business contacts. If I could share my screen, if this is the point in the program where I can tell.
Go for it. Are you able to, or?
I think so. Here it is.
There we go.
I'm going to put my timer on. I got to be disciplined about this. Okay. So I'm not getting the response. Okay. So just as an overview, this is a little bit outdated. The number now is a little bit over 100 trucks of medical aid, food, and clothing that have come to us. We've been really fortunate. One of our members, Christopher Yarn, is in Germany. He's a member of our club and Roundtable and the Inner Circle, I think it is. And they do a thing that we like to call Freund of Health and Convoy. So I'd say the lion's share of the trucks coming that we've received, I mean, they come from all over, but a lot of those have come from Germany. In terms of our fundraising, not counting what's sent to us, it's approaching 4 million euros. And actually, we hit the 2 million mark like within the first month. There was really an initial outpouring. We do most of our purchasing and sourcing in Germany and Poland. I'll show you a little bit of what we're buying and sending. We've assembled, made here in country, 3,000 first aid kits. These are the NATO standard. So they've got everything, the tourniquets, bandages, compressed bandages, hemostatics. These numbers are a little outdated. We send cars to the front line. We actually have a member of our club who was a magician for events, weddings, children's party, who is now bravely volunteered to join the army. So we've supplied him as well. One fire truck. We're working on getting that number up. That made us giddy, getting this red cherry truck and knowing it was going to go save some lives in its first day in. So that's just an overview of what we've done. Our logistics looked like this before the war. It's expanded a little bit, but you see from Germany here, our member Christopher is doing a lot of fundraising there and getting trucks together. He got a good team. So those are sent. We have 2 facilities. Right here, this line right here is the border between Poland and Ukraine's over here. Another reason we're able to do what we do is because we're here in Lviv, which is basically a customs hub. Excuse me, not a customs hub, but a delivery hub for most of everything entering Ukraine. We do a lot of our purchasing in Warsaw. It simplifies things and it's close to us. That comes into one of our 2 facilities, one of which is owned by our member Maria Biała. And then things are taken into here in Lviv, and we have 3 warehouses. I'll show you very quickly. One is we work with our partner Samoobrona Lvivshchiny, Ukrainian Catholic University, and a number of NGOs just came together to pool their resources. It's an 800,000 square meter facility with somewhere around 200 volunteers. It's all automated. It's modern, and the accounting is top notch. Something that's hard to replicate even inside our club. We have a smaller facility. This one's not decommissioned, but just we haven't really needed it. It's a little bit smaller, and I can't see my slide. And then our club actually has our own warehouse. We are renting a facility that includes 2 different warehouse spaces and 3 stories where we are basically a human assembly line for first aid kits. That's this 3rd picture here. That's funded by our club and by the Sheptytsky Foundation. So we actually have 10 people on payroll, and they are there day and night. Really proud of these people. And there's a few Americans, you know, ragtag group of people who have just come from all over the world to help, and they find out what we're doing and they join us. So this is the other side of that center. We buy different elements for the first aid kits. The bags and the surgical shears were purchased locally inside Lviv. We try as much as we can to buy things locally. So one floor of the center is used for storage. The other is for, as you can see here, it's members of our club. In this particular picture, we have workshops there too. So we had kids draw thank you letters and little guardian angels, and we put them into the first aid kits. Second picture, it's actually a club night. We had it at the center and got our members hands-on making these things so they could appreciate the work that's going on. This is our club secretary presiding over a bunch of bags that need to be filled. clearly, and a rotoractor and that. And as I said, that we do workshops there too. We maximally use this space that we have. We've done vehicles, fire truck, cars, which we can't really give many pictures of because they're usually picked up by combat medics. We fill those cars with meals, ready-to-eat meals, walkie-talkies, and first aid kits. The humanitarian side of this, when I'm talking about basic supplies and food and clothing, is really hard to keep track of because so much of it comes in. I will mention our rotoractors because they're just amazing. They got 1.5 tons of basic supplies, food, hygiene items to Center for Children with Disabilities out in Kropivnitsky. You know, it's not the most dangerous place, but it's certainly not Lviv. We get things like generators sent or donated, mattresses. This particular shipment was from the Danish Business Association. And we make cash contributions to a lot of the on-the-ground local efforts where volunteers are getting food out to the people that are cut off from supplies. They're in remote villages where the businesses have shut down and there's not a source of food. And so those just kind of the scope and breadth of what we're doing to give you a sense. And we get, in addition to what we do, Rotary clubs contact us to use our logistics capacities from all over the world. We get it from China, the US, quite a bit. Australia, we even got things sent from Australia, and they're sending more containers. We were really proud to be featured on Rotary International's website. They mentioned specifically our operation here and how we were providing spreadsheet of relief items that were needed to get to anyone who wanted to donate, so they could make donations of cash or get the items that were needed. And those were being updated regularly by the institutions and healthcare facilities. While I was in Poland, we got a lot of good things done there. I'm glad that I did spend the time in Poland. We were able to cultivate relationships with suppliers, partner with the club, Yosafov, that has generously allowed us to use their club account, because in Ukraine, there's many difficulties in terms of receiving money, spending it, and it has to be spent inside country. And most of what we need and what this country needs, clearly, it's not here right now. We try to buy everything we can in country. So we met with Shekhar Mehta, told him a little bit about what we're doing. Too long for this presentation, but he recorded a special message for the district briefly. And I saw Mark Gittelman is joining us. And so he may speak, or you may hear from someone else from Kiev about this. But the big challenge that our club wants to start addressing now is the drinkable water crisis. About 4.6 million people have limited access to any kind of safe drinking water. The Russians are targeting specifically gas stations, sewage plants, silos where there are storage facilities for fertilizers. So you're getting ammonium leaching into the soil. And so the use of these explosives is putting the system close to collapse. And this is a catastrophe that's not discussed much, but we have very contaminated water in many parts of the country. So what we're doing right now is we're comparing different emergency response systems. We're doing this methodically. There is a WASH group, and we're going to get our data to them. They've been meeting for a couple months, and independently of them, we had our donors ask us to get something like this out. So we investigated and wanted to compare it to what's available in Ukraine. That's a little bit more adaptive in terms of what it filters. It anticipates the kind of stuff you're going to find in Ukraine. We're comparing this to systems available internationally. We're sending these to different parts of the country that have a little bit different chemistry in the soil and different problems, and to see how we can configure these things, which one's going to work better, and to feed into this data into the WASH effort until organizations like UNICEF are going to step in and do some more permanent stuff. So I'll leave it there. I did go over my timer a little bit, and I'll turn it over to our colleagues in Kiev.
Thanks, James. Kirill, what are your club members doing, or what have you done to respond, as the hashtag behind you says there? Because I know that you've been doing some great things in Kiev as well.
Right. We have a bit different situation comparing to Lviv clubs, because in our case, majority of the club members have left the city. So we were Ukrainians of Kiev, organized in the Rotary Club Kiev, and majority of us left the city towards west, either in Ukraine, as Mark did, or in the Western Europe or elsewhere. So as I started to talk, we had immediately responded as say communication body. So we started talking to the Rotary clubs in different parts of the world, answering their requests and sending our stories to them. We started with very immediate answers to the very immediate needs of people here in Kiev. And then we have a number of projects, and I'm passing here to Irina to ask her to show what we are doing here in Kiev and in Ukraine.
Thank you. I will try to share some information on our last projects. And from the first days of the war in Ukraine, Kirill, Tatiana, and other members of the Rotary Club Kiev, they were actually very amazing in their immediate response, because I believe it was 27th of February, the war started 24th. They started the process of developing some ideas how we can help to local people who decided to stay actually in Kiev region. And I must say that many people choose to stay in the first days to protect their homes, who are not professional like fighters, who doesn't have any equipment, but who choose to stay to protect their homes, who are people of different occupations. And we had feeling that we have to provide them with heating equipment, because as you know, in Ukraine we have severe winter as well. We have to provide those civilian people with warm food, and we had our we helped to raise money to our partners who provided this warm food. We provided warm clothes to people who stayed in Kiev and in northern part of regions. And we did a really large amount of work. And after the territories of Kiev, of northern part of Kiev region was deoccupied, the main aim of Rotary Club Kiev was to help people from those territories who faced the occupation period and didn't have any, they were deprived of basic things like food, like water, and other basic stuff like medications. So after these territories were deoccupied, our members of our club, they delivered with a truck a large amount of warm food and this basic stuff to the places like Katyuzhanka, to the places like Dimer, which are about 57 miles from the border of from a border with Belarus. And it is very important for me to mention the big sacrifice of the cities due to the situation with Irpin River. I believe many people could hear about the heroic river of Irpin, which helped to survive actually to Kiev. And I would like to share a screen with you. There is an article in Guardian about this situation I'm talking about. And yeah, talking about this one. The dam near Irpin River was destroyed so that the Russian army could not come directly to Kiev. Because, as you know, there are about 80 miles from the border to Kiev, and on this 50th mile, the dam was destroyed, and the river of Irpin flooded. So now one of the main projects of Rotary Club Kiev is to help to local communities to cope with this situation, because there are a lot of residential buildings, ordinary houses were flooded with water. So now we are delivering special equipment like water pumps to these communities, as well as we started to raise money for drones so that people could monitor on annual basis the situation with the flooding of this river, so that they could see the damage, and the more important is so they could prevent the more damage it could cause, because it could lead to ecology catastrophe as well. And the next our project I would like to share with you is Happy Kids. Maybe Tatiana previously could send some materials on it. Due to the situation in eastern part of Ukraine, and due to the situation in places like Bucha in Irpin, there are many people who were like internally displaced, and they had to leave their houses, and they came to Kiev region, which is now pretty calm, and it's really the suburbs of Kiev. They're really green, beautiful. Then they can provide, despite the situation, the calm life for these people. And people don't want many people. They just don't want to leave the Ukraine. They want to live here, and people who were internally displaced, especially those who have children, they suffered very big challenge. First of all, the children who are very they have very low immunity to the stress situation like this. So this children, they're first of our aim to give them some sort of comfort and protection. So for that aim, we're now in the process of raising money to help them to have a recreation with in educational centers in the places like Novi Petrivtsi. It's close to Kiev. It's one of the suburbs of Kiev. I will give some brief information on this one. So the purpose of this project is the organization of summer recreation for children from internally displaced families, as I mentioned before. And these people, these children who had to leave their homes, they have special necessity in care and attention from professional psychologists as well. And for that aim, we have a partner, a local educational center, who gathered a really great team who can help to comfort these children and give them all the attention they need in these hard times. So I believe some information I shared with you was inspiring as well. And I think that this project is it is one of my favorite in this current time. And I hope this was as well inspiring for you as it is for me. Thank you for your attention. And that's all.
Thanks, Irina. We only have Kirill for a couple more minutes here real quick. So I want to ask him a couple of questions. And then maybe we'll pause and Dan, you can end the meeting officially, but we can stay for any other questions as well. So Kirill, you mentioned a little bit of the utilities parts of things, but what is the utilities situation? Water, power, are those still working in Kyiv?
Well, Kyiv is a lucky city because we were attacked, but the infrastructure was not destroyed here in the city. And even in the worst days, you had sometimes grocery stores shut down. However, there were not long period. Usually you have everything you need. You don't have much choice of different stuff. However, the basic stuff was always available. The most severe things are happening to those in the east, in Mariupol, you can imagine, in Kharkov, in Chernihiv, in Nikolaev city, because those cities I mentioned are under constant attack and constant bombings. And to give you example, city of Mykolaiv, they don't have water supply since more than 1 month. I mean, this is a big city, a capital of the region, which is not supplied by water, and therefore our district, as well as Rotary Club Lviv, is paying a lot of attention to supply of the fresh water to those affected by the bombings. So now what is happening in Ukraine is total shortage of the fuel. As James explained, they are targeting the gas stations, gas storages, and rail infrastructure, and this results in the shortage of the fuel, which would, of course, in the nearest future result in the shortage of everything, because you don't have much of logistics now, or if you have something, it's very expensive. And Mark is raising his hand. He will add up on the clean water project where now participating too. So this is it.
Yeah, and before we get to Mark and James, I just want to ask you kind of 2 more daily life questions before I know you need to sneak out. On Zoom here, Julie and Dan kind of asked 2 questions that I'll loop together. Julie asked, how are schools operating? Dan asked, able to access groceries, which you kind of mentioned. So what part of daily life is working at this point in Kyiv from a school's perspective or a groceries perspective? How does that look?
So the schools were shut down immediately, all the schools, all the kindergartens, and depending on the type of school, is it state school or if it is private school, they gradually restarted to the online education. And I would say COVID helped us to accommodate, because in majority of cases we had lockdowns and kids were studying from homes. So remote education was quite introduced in our educational system. Universities and colleges, they were all shut down immediately. We had huge number of foreign students here in Kiev, and they immediately been evacuated. So I'm pretty sure James saw this number of students in Lviv because they were leaving the city quite intensively. And to give you a flavor, the most negatively impressive thing I saw is train station in Kiev, where people was trying to approach the wagons, to enter the wagons. It was quite a mess. There were no schedule, there were no information on the trains leaving, so you was served first come for first served in the train station. All the trains were free, and the majority of the directions were towards west, towards Lviv. So this was the most the thing which impressed me the most. So I was really depressed after I saw this. For the rest, well, anecdotally, COVID helped us a bit to accommodate this kind of situation. So everyone was able to introduce online communication quite quickly. For the groceries, as I said, basic things were almost always available.
Okay. Well, thank you, and thank you for being with us today. I know you have to run, and we'll. I think Irina and Mark and James can stay for a few minutes. So thank you for being here. Stay safe and keep up the good work. It's very heartening to see what Rotarians can do around the world, and we're proud that we get to be on the same team as you. That's for sure. And so enjoy the rest of the day. Dano, I'll turn it back to you if you want to do a kind of a soft close of the meeting, and then we'll take some more questions if we have time.
Thank you for having
Thanks,
me.
Kirill.
Bye.
Bye. Any questions? Anyone here that has questions for James, Irina? Gotta be. I knew Mary would come up and have a question for me.
Yep. And in the meantime, while they're getting set up, I know Mark has his hand up, and for those in the room there, Mark is has been very active in the district in Ukraine for many years in Rotary, and is also part of several, I think we can call them committees, right, Mark, that are being utilized right now. So Mark, you had your hand up, wanted to kind of elaborate on what Kirill was saying there.
Thank you, Kyle. And I want to add some specific features to speech of Kirill. For example, he mentioned about the train station the beginning of March. The situation was as follows. The wagon is usually 30 persons, was filled with 150, 200 persons. So you can imagine this situation. As to the projects of our club, especially concerned with water supply, Kirill mentioned city of Mykolaiv, which is in the south of Ukraine, and is more than 1 month without water supplies. Our club, together with Rotary Club Mykolaiv, doing now the project of supplying 90 tons of potable water to socially vulnerable families of Mykolaiv. This is a little bit complicated system, but we are in the process now. We hope that it will take about 1 month to complete this project. And I want to argue a little bit with you, Kyle, when you mentioned that money sent to disaster response fund go to nowhere. We understand at the district level the situation and insist our representative in the special committee at the level of RI insists that projects which are planned by districts from other countries have to be mostly agreed with our district. We can say what is really necessary. We can advise and we can cooperate. As a use of disaster response fund, I can mention now the projects. First, our district got already, as it seems to me, about $300,000 for disaster response grant from this fund. And we use this money partly for projects of Ukrainian Rotary clubs. To fund them, every club could apply with his project of $5,000-$10,000, and money from disaster response fund are split for the project of Ukrainian club. And partly, we now start the process of buying such kinds of vehicles as fire protector vehicles. For example, James shows your slides, and one of them shows such kind of equipment, such kind of vehicle, and our governor, Volodymyr Bondarenko, was in the center of this slide. So in the project together with district. And about these ambulances, the aim to buy ambulances is the aim of such project. To simplify the procedure of formalities, we agree with districts from different countries, especially from the United States. They apply for disaster response grants from GRF and use this fund especially to buy things which are found by us, and we provide invoices, and they pay straightforward this equipment to Europe. As an example, I can say that now one district 50-50 from USA, plus district 10-20 from Great Britain, are in the process of buying fire protector machine. Another project is buying of 3 ambulances, project of $100,000, which are supported by American district from Florida and 3 Indian districts. Above this, we had an application from Colombian districts, and they will help us to buy special medicines for $25,000. So this scheme works properly, and if your district doesn't apply still for such a disaster response grant from GRF, please, you're welcome. Let's agree what I want to buy. For example, now we have an invoice from Latvia, as it seems. No, from Germany, sorry. Powerful electric generator already. It's possible to pay for it. It will be delivered straightforward to Ukraine. Volume of the project is 25,000 USD. So please, you're welcome. If your district doesn't use this mechanism,
oh no, we're going to. I can tell you that much. I've had conversations with our foundation, our foundation people at the district, and in fact, you and I are going to have a separate conversation offline that we can coordinate.
Please, you're welcome. I'll put my email, and I'm waiting for a message from you, Kyle.
Thank you. I think we have some people in the room there. Oh yeah, Mary, you have a question in the room. Go for it.
I actually have two. One is just a simple question of, are people able to go back to work so that they have a means of supporting themselves? And number two, I'd be interested in knowing how you explained what was going on to your children. I just can't imagine one day having everything sort of be normal, and then the next day having to pack up what you could carry and just flee and not know what's going to happen next. So if you could answer, anybody that's able could answer those two questions.
James, do you want to take that one first? And I know you have your hand up as well.
Yeah,
I'm not sure where that one's from.
I did have my hand up because our treasurer from Yosefov in Warsaw, I guess I could put my hand down, has confirmed receipt of $4,230. So Prior
Perfect.
Lake, on behalf of Ukraine, on behalf of our club, I want to say thank you, and I'm glad I got this information while we were still here with
Good
each other
timing.
today.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. We'll have photos on exactly what the good thing about our Polish account is, versus our German account, is we really are able to keep track of everything that's bought, so we can say exactly when went where, and versus truckloads of stuff, and it's hard to say maybe what money bought what. So we'll have that information. So thank you very much. And if I might answer that question, we have a 5 and a 7-year-old daughters. We did not tell them. We told them we were going on a vacation to Poland. We didn't know, or maybe we didn't have the heart to describe the hell. Literally, we knew it was coming and didn't know how to deal with that as parents, or how they would deal with that as young children. With time, they became aware, and from news, from Kirill mentioned that a lot of schools online, so our daughters were still attending their schools from Warsaw, and they heard it. Kids would come to school and say, "Oh, I saw the missile fly over," and so our daughters really started asking questions. They did have to leave their pets and things like that, but I think it was a good decision to spread it out over time and not drop it all on them at once. I think they were able to process it when there was dribbles of information and they had already kind of understood themselves. I mean, that's a hard thing to explain to your kids as a parent. They don't know they're leaving their friends and their schools and may never see them again. Now people in the East that were fleeing, the bombs were already landing. That's something I don't know how you deal with. Maybe some of our Kiev colleagues had that experience because Kiev was being more heavily bombed than Lviv.
Irina, can you touch on that part at all from the experience in Kiev?
In Kiev, I have a 10-year-old brother, and we live in a private sector. And from the 24th of February, it was maybe the hardest because we woke up at 5 a.m. because of explosions nearby. And this day we had helicopters and warplanes. So there was no like any reason to explain what's happening, because children sometimes they know everything from the internet, and there was a lot of information in their school previously. So we had like very brief conversation that everything what is happening, the most important thing is to care about each other. And maybe it was the most reasonable position in this situation, because children, it is most important to protect their feelings from the one point, but from the other point, the most important is if you have such possibility, to take them far from these war actions.
Thank you. one of our members here works in the school district and is a and he is a refugee from Southeast Asia as well. And we're in for this is for our club members as much as it's for our guests. We're getting Ukrainian refugees here now in Prior Lake, 3 families so far. So James and Irina, in your opinion, how can our club help those families resettle and successfully transition into our community? What can we do to help?
From my point of view, the most maybe comfortable thing for people to help maybe to adjust to the new life for them. Maybe if you can help to sometimes if these children they were in these war actions, they faced the explosions and this stuff. And maybe if it is the best option to find the specialist in this field. I mean, from our project, I know that the best way is to treat them with the help of a psychologist professional who work with children. So we have such people in our team, and I know a lot of people who worked with children from Mariupol. The best way for them is specialized psychology help.
Thanks. James, anything to add from your perspective on that?
No, I think Irina is exactly right. I would only add from the experience of my children attending U.S. schools for the first time. The schools took an interest and did like Ukrainian culture day, and then the kids can share something about their cultures, and everybody learns a little bit from one another, and that's a very welcoming gesture. So if you're asking what your club can do besides providing mental health care, if you're able to find that there appropriate for the age and experience. Setting up a club day for Ukrainian, or maybe not inside your club, but at a local school where they can have a cultural exchange, and that'll make them feel welcome in it. And it kind of cues in the other kids to a little bit of what the Ukrainian experience is, and kids like to share.
Sure. Mark, anything to add on that as well?
Oh, it's difficult for me because, sorry.
You're good.
You hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Yep.
It's difficult to me to answer this question because my son is not so young. Say, I have 2 grandchildren which are now in Greece, so it's not the question straightforward to me. I have no experience in this field.
Okay. I think I'll ask one more question, and I don't see anybody in the room there. David online asked, what thing in short supply has the biggest impact on your members? James, maybe you want to touch on that first, and then Irina.
Petrol, gas. But there's a really good city transport, public transport. We make do. Our club is kind of at risk of becoming a Ukrainian-only club. A few Danes, myself, are left of a club that was evenly split, 62 people between Ukrainians and foreigners. Most of the foreigners did leave. We have to see if they'll come back. We're doing fine. I mean, there was a question earlier about grocery. Pretty much everything that was available before the war is available now, unless it was from Russia or Belarus. Prices are up, but there wasn't a serious, earlier on there was disruptions, and like you'd go and where there was 20 types of cereal, now there was just one, and a whole aisle of canned tuna. But it's really not that bad here in Lviv. There's nothing that we, can't do without. There's just lines for petrol, but that's it.
Sure. Thanks. Irina, how about you?
I'm so sorry. Could you repeat the question?
Sure. What are the couple of things that are in short supply in Kyiv that would have the biggest impact for your members?
Understood. Here, I can completely agree with James, because gasoline, petrol as well is very important because we have lack of these things. And about other members of the club, maybe Mark could help better, but I see that he's
on the phone there. Yeah. So, okay. Well, what I'd like to do here before I turn it back to Dan, Irina, just any final comments from your standpoint, or and then when James is off the phone, we'll ask him the same. Just any final thoughts from your end here?
I would like only to thank you for the support, all the members of the club, and actually every person we met through the letters. They were very helpful and very responsive. So and thank you as well for attention today.
Thanks. James, any final thoughts from your end before we turn it to Dano for his final thoughts?
No, just like to echo what Irina said, and thank you for your support, for standing in solidarity with Ukraine, for taking the time to have us here, and the interest of your members, and for your donation. And it really means a lot to us, and I think that you've seen the gamut of the needs. You've heard a really good project from Irina for children. They really need a break. They need to get away and have fun, be kids for a little bit. And you've heard Mark speak about what district's doing and this water project. So these are all really important efforts. And thank you for your support and for having us.
Thank you, and thank you for everything you're doing. As I kind of said with Kirill, it's great being on the same team, and we look forward to continuing to work together and having a partnership as well. Dan, back to you there.
Thanks, Kyle. I want to thank you, Kirill, Irina. Our thoughts, our prayers, our actions are with you and everyone in Ukraine. I want to thank again, Kyle, you and the International Committee for spearheading this effort and future efforts. What you guys have put together has been unbelievable. So thank you very much.